Redacted tonight. This is the comedy show where Americans in America covering American news are called foreign agents. So let's take a second to go over the big three. The big three things that seem to really cause the United States to want to overthrow or bring down a foreign government. If you have one of these three things, the U.S. might screw with you. If you have two of these things, the U.S. will definitely screw with you. If you have three of these things, then look behind you right now because the U.S. is currently screwing you. All right? Number one, being a socialist country. That's right. If you don't have the same economic system as us, oh man, we will cut you, motherfucker. All right? Number two, dropping the U.S. dollar. Iraq dropped the dollar. Iran dropped the dollar. Libya dropped the dollar. Pakistan dropped the dollar in trade with China, and the following day, we added them to the list of countries violating religious freedom. All right? I'm not kidding. We do not take kindly to dropping the dollar. But that doesn't apply to Venezuela, no. Venezuela has never... Oh, okay, all right. Venezuela has two out of the big three. But the number three reason we try to bring down other countries is because they have oil or other resources, and Venezuela doesn't have any of those. World's leader in oil reserves? Well, that's only the world. I bet Jupiter's moon Europa has more, all right? So, in case anyone was wondering, that is why the U.S. is trying to create a coup in Venezuela right now. It is. And our government is doing it with the support of every mainstream media channel in America, from MSNBC to Fox News to NPR to Bill fucking Maher, all right? Every single one. Let's break down a recent CNN propaganda segment. Take a look.
Cross into Venezuela's unending disaster, the world's worst growing refugee crisis.
Is it the worst? I think maybe Syria or Yemen might be in more dire straits. You know, the other awful humanitarian crises we've helped create and foster. Our government treats humanitarian crises like baby birds. We're like, okay, come on, little buddy, come on. Let's turn you into a big, strong humanitarian crisis. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. But CNN wasn't done.
In the capital, there's a queue for everything, everywhere. Hunger breeds a special kind of anger.
We have devastating sanctions on them. We're helping create that hunger. This isn't to say Maduro has done an awesome job, but whether he has or not, we're not fucking helping, all right? Saying we must sanction them to help them is like if somebody fell through a plate glass window and he's bleeding and you go, let's help him. Let's start cutting out the glass with this rusty flathead screwdriver. And someone else goes, don't you dare, leave him alone. And then you go, you don't want to help him? What's wrong with you? But that's what our sanctions are designed to do. They're designed to hurt poor and average people the most. Back when Rex Tillerson was Secretary of State, he publicly said we could tell our sanctions on North Korea were working great because poor fishermen were washing up on the beaches starved to death. Yay! We saved them by starving their poor people. Give us some more of your gripping undercover report, CNN.
There's no queuing for the youngest, living off what, even here, nobody wants. This isn't play, it's practice for self-defense.
Really? I think it's play, considering the giant smiles on their faces.
My brother got killed in July by another gang, says 14-year-old Usmaria. They found the body in the river.
And that's Maduro's fault? That's like blaming Biggie's murder on Bill Clinton. I mean, he was president when it happened.
We gather stuff, we beg a piece of chicken skin to take home. In the socialist utopia that now leaves nearly every stomach empty.
Nearly every stomach empty. First of all, half of that, again, is because of our sanctions. Sanctions are not a smart bomb, all right? They destroy everybody except the rich who have enough money to weather the sanctions. Come to think of it, sanctions are kind of like smart bombs. We're told they're only going to get the bad guys. But in fact, smart bombs kill all kinds of innocent civilians, as do sanctions. You want to see how ridiculous this CNN propaganda got? Watch what they show immediately after saying every stomach is empty.
The socialist utopia that now leaves nearly every stomach empty. This was the day when change was meant to come.
Yeah, really starving there, you know? This guy's got a nice paunch going right there. So does this guy. I mean, CNN, you forgot to line up your propaganda words with your propaganda images. Like, you should have stuck with the children at the landfill, but instead you had to go and ruin it by showing happy, well-fed protesters. This is literally in a video titled "As Venezuela Creeps Towards Starvation." Geez, I didn't realize starvation had so many man tits. I was unaware. Look, I'm not saying things are great down there. They aren't. But pro-war propaganda and U.S. imperialism ain't curing nothing, all right? Let's see one more clip.
Hundreds of thousands flooding central Caracas, watching opposition leader Juan Guaido swear himself in as interim president.
Yes, Juan Guaido did swear himself in. CNN only missed a couple of things. He was not elected to that position. He just declared himself president. That's not really how governments work, you know? But if it is, okay, I hereby declare myself governor, let's say Idaho, all right? I mean, no one will really notice that, all right? I'm pretty sure the current governor's a hedgehog with a bow tie on, so who's gonna complain? But also, CNN doesn't want you to know that there's one problem with Juan Guaido. Turns out 81% of Venezuelans don't know who he is. So he just ran around Washington, D.C. before he declared himself president. He ran around Washington, D.C. and some neocon think tanks and said, hey, I'm going to declare myself president. And they said, fucking rock on, man. Yeah. On top of that, he went to George Washington University. As the Gray Zone Project reported, in 2007, he moved to Washington, D.C. to enroll in the governance and political management program at George Washington under the tutelage of Venezuelan economist Luis Enrique Berisbeitia, one of the top Latin American neoliberal economists. Berisbeitia is a former executive director of the International Monetary Fund. Guaido went to GW and then trained under the IMF. Jesus. And then we declared him president of Venezuela. That's like joining the WWE and then training under Henry Kissinger, and then the U.S. declares you king of Japan. But it doesn't stop there. Juan Guaido is the product of a decade-long project overseen by Washington's elite regime change trainers. While posing as a champion of democracy, he has spent years at the forefront of a violent campaign of destabilization. So what's the big deal? He's an American regime change pawn who was groomed by the IMF to take over Venezuela and give away their natural resources. That's not so bad. And if that's what the Venezuelan people want, then we should respect their wishes. Because corporate media tells us this is what the people want, right? Oh, wait. According to a study conducted in early January of this year, 86% of Venezuelans would disagree with international military intervention, and 81% oppose the U.S. sanctions that have gravely hurt the nation's economy. So most Venezuelans, don't know Guaido. Most Venezuelans still support Maduro. Whether you personally like him or not doesn't matter. And most Venezuelans don't want military intervention and don't want the U.S. sanctions. Yet CNN and NPR and Fox News and BBC and every other mainstream outlet will have you thinking everyone is starving to death and on their knees begging for America's freedom bombs to rain down like the dollar bills at a strip club. You know, because our interventions have worked so well in Syria and Yemen and Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan and Chile and Honduras and Haiti and Somalia and Libya and Guatemala and Colombia and Panama and Fraggle Rock and those tree forts where the fucking Ewoks live. The Venezuelan people deserve self-determination, no matter how you feel about the current government. The absolute last thing they need is to be turned into a neoliberal parking lot in which America rips all their resources out from under them. But I found out I actually owe CNN an apology.